This family is very special to me. And when they asked me to come and be a part of this, I said absolutely. And even though we're here to celebrate Mrs. Anthony, I first want to acknowledge Mr. Anthony. I know our relationship, it was a struggle. It was a struggle, and I am very grateful that he gave Mrs. Anthony the latitude to bring a young man like myself into his home. I grew up in a very dysfunctional environment. I grew up on the west side of Columbus, Ohio, in the most dysfunctional neighborhood. I grew up in the Southern Endurance housing projects. Drug dealers, gang bangers, all kind of other people too that I won't mention. There are kids here. And I grew up in an environment where we didn't have fathers. And my interaction with Mr. Anthony, I didn't know how to interact and appreciate the value that he brought the family. So our relationship was a struggle, and I remember I would call the house and I would call to speak to Mrs. Anthony, and when he answered the phone, my heart was, it just sank. I said, oh no, I gotta talk to him. And he never took it personal that I treated him that way, and my words were very brief, laconic, to a point, and almost really rude. And I just didn't know how to speak and appreciate a father and the love of a father and everything that he's done for his family. So we were playing golf last year, and I know our relationship has probably been strained because he's probably remembering how I treated him back then, but we were playing golf, and I just told him, I said, Mr. Anthony, I want to apologize profusely to you for how I treated you. And I felt so bad because I didn't know how to respond accordingly. And I know he didn't take it personally, but I know it hurt him. I know it hurt him, what I did. And so I just wanted to acknowledge him for bringing me in. I always say that you can tell the greatness of parents if you just look at the kids, how they turn out. And you think about all the kids, and I tell people all the time, I brag on this family all the time. No matter who I'm in front of, I talk about the greatness of this family and the seeds they planted in their kids. Mike I played with him at Worthy and Christian. He was a point guard. I told him, Mike, just pass me the ball and get out of the way. That's all you need to do, right? Mike's a very successful attorney. He's my attorney. And then you have Tom, who runs two awesome restaurants, Chili Birdie. And both of these gentlemen welcome our nonprofit organization to their business on field trips. I think Tom's a little bit more compassionate than Mike is, just a little bit. And both of these gentlemen have tried to get me to run for politics. And I tell them, look, I want to stay married to this beautiful woman. And I know I would be a tremendous threat to both the Democrats and the Republicans. Particularly my common message. Also, you have David Anthony, who's a very successful dentist, taking over the father's practice. And then you have Andrea back there as well. If you can see the resemblance, they're sitting next to each other. Most people think that they're sisters. People think that they're sisters. So, and I always say that Andrea and Mrs. Anthony, they got the beautiful genes in the family. Now I'm going to turn my attention to Mrs. Anthony. I really don't know where to begin. I really don't, because at times she has been more like a mom to me than my own mother. And I remember there would be times when I would call her for support before I would even call my mother. I would call her. And she, usually that connection would only be between a mother and a child, biologically. But she was kind of like a spiritual mom to me. And we were close, and she would call me, and I would be at Ohio State, and I would see the phone, and I was just like, she said, Lawrence, I just want to tell you that I'm praying for you and that I love you. And I didn't know how to reciprocate and tell her that I loved her. So I'm very grateful for everything that she's done for me. She's been like a mother to me. She would cook for me, she would clean for me, and I would always eat all their food up. So I would always do that. And I've told her times, there would be times when they would be sleeping, I would tiptoe down the steps, and I would look in the refrigerators, because I would just stare, and I'm like, we didn't have any food. So I would just stare and say, wow, look at the cupboards that they have in the refrigerator. And I'd ask for seconds and thirds on quite often, right? And I did, right? I ate a lot.
You're so skinny.
I was so skinny. But she would always try to offer me clothes. She says, Lawrence, You're getting a little too tall for your clothes. And I never, yeah, they were up here. My pants were like that. Walking around. And I never took that. I said the only thing I wanted was your generosity to welcome me in your home. I didn't want it to be a charity case. Let me in your home, see the family, see a mother and a father in a committed relationship, see kids who understand their purpose and their destiny in life, to see a neighborhood where you saw people who weren't stressed out, didn't have to worry necessarily about somebody robbing them or going after them like in my neighborhood. Never saw that. You had Mike Anthony who would come and pick me up, and I know his parents prayed a lot because he would come to pick me up, and there would be people in my neighborhood who would knock on his window and they say, "Hey, white boy, what you doing in this neighborhood? You're either a buyer or a supplier." Right? Now, but I can't, and I have I'm doing a book right now. I'm going to dedicate this book. I'm doing this book. It's called The Ways of Wealth. And it's really about how do we bridge the wealth gap in our country, right? Between the haves and the have-nots. And I always challenge wealthy people, stop just giving money. Don't just give money. Give up your time. Give up your home, your comforts that you hold dear to, and let people learn your ways. That's the only way they're going to generate a frame of reference. So I learned the ways of wealth. They would always say, we're not wealthy. I'm like, look, you got a big house, you got all this food, right? You're rich compared to where I come from. So I learned that. So I'm dedicating this book to Mrs. Anthony, and I'm hoping the next time that I stand in front of you that we'll be here to discuss this book, which we hope will be available in September. So Mrs. Anthony, I know I didn't tell you a lot, but I love you.